What's up, my name is Kiahonfire and welcome back to Conan Exiles. Today I'm going to show you some really helpful tips to get started on the exiled lands. These are going to be insanely vital and helpful tips that you need to get started in Conan Exiles. So with all journeys, they start at the starting zone, where there's a tablet that you can click on to give you a bit of experience and story. And then there's also another important bit. Always near this starting zone, near the tablet, should be a rock or a piece of building somewhere that will give you a certain thing along this road. So for instance, the place I am right now, right on this bit right here, there is this water skin with a note. You can pick up the note for a bit of lore, and you can also pick up the water skin. Now the water skin is actually going to give you a little bit of water, so if you're running out of water you can drink that, and that will replenish those draining meters. But most importantly as well, it provides a really helpful vessel for traveling the desert with. My second tip starts off where you're in the world, you've got maybe a few levels but you don't know where to go next, and you kind of want to equip yourself with a weapon. Well, if you go into your feats tab, go onto weapons and scroll down to skirmisher. So here we go. There is a dagger. This is at level 6. I recommend only using the daggers. You won't really need any of the other stone weapons because the stone daggers does a very special ability. Pretty much, they enable you to bleed out things, and bleed effect is really crazy when you're starting out. It can actually carry you all the way up to level 30, these stone daggers alone, and you'll be completely fine. So pretty much what you want to do is this attack when you're against anything. You see the red swirling stuff? That's the bleed effect, and pretty much every heavy swing you do with the daggers will apply bleed. You'll find a target you want to kill. Maybe you want to get some food of some kind. Let's try and get it off this turtle. It's going to try and attack you, but pretty much what you want to do is apply a lot of bleed to it. And then all you want to do is run away and dodge it and walk away. You can see above its health bar it had a little bleedy effect there. Ideally you want it to get it up to 6 stacks on something like a turtle, and it will completely bleed out from there. And then when you have higher targets with higher health pools, you want more bleed stacks. You can actually stack it all the way up to 20 bleed stacks. Unbelievable, isn't it? Pretty much this is a really OP ability because it will enable you to just attack and then run away and let your target finish itself off. You can even attack the lowest level dungeon boss with this kind of ability with just stone daggers alone. And they're really easy to make and repair. I always recommend having a couple on you and some of the materials to repair these stone daggers. You can also make it in your inventory, which is really nice. So that's a branch, some stones and some twine. So definitely use the stone daggers. I wouldn't really bother with any of the other tools because that bleed effect's really going to carry you. My next tip is getting food and how to heal. So you might find yourself getting hit quite a lot when you're in the early stages. Perhaps you've gotten hit by a crocodile. Well, ideally you kind of want to go and get something to heal. Thing is, there are several classes of food in Conan that have different healing abilities. So you have low tier food, you have mid tier food, and you have high grade food. High grade is the very best, but you're very unlikely to get it at the start. However, you are very likely to get mid tier if you kill turtles. But first we're going to need a tool to actually get that meat, and what you want to learn is Apprentice Butcherer, and you want to get the stone cleaver. The skinny knife will get you hide and the cleaver will get you meat, so we want a cleaver. You want to equip it and then attack your dead turtle with it, and you should get something called savoury flesh. Now if you were to cook this up it would make grilled steak, and again we're going to need to learn another thing for this to be able to eat it. Do not eat it raw, it will give you food poisoning. You want to learn Primitive Cook, which is a level 3 feat. You can find it in the survival tab. And then you can go ahead and craft a campfire in your inventory for some stone and some branches, which you can find laying about all over the floor, by the way. You can see all these stones and branches around in the starter zone. Once you build a campfire, you also want a little bit of wood to burn with it. So you just smack a tree with your fists or with a stone hatchet. And there you go, you got a campfire, you put your wood in, you put your savoury flesh in, and then you go ahead and cook it, and it will make the grilled steak. Also another thing with a campfire, you can actually pick it back up again, and I do recommend you do this because it will keep the world a lot cleaner, and you're not making a mess for other people that way. That, and if you have the soothing buff, that is going to passively regenerate you as well. So the mid-grade food is going to do you a lot more service than just the low grade. I recommend killing the turtles and getting this to eat. Now to my next really insanely helpful tip. You can get wanderers in the Exiled Lands. Here is one of the spots you can find one on the beach. So if I have a look at my map here, you can see right on this stretch here near this bridge, you can actually get a fighter. Now they're usually there. There's a few spots I know they spawn for sure 100% of the time, unless you've got like a new server, then they will need a chance to spawn. But pretty much sometimes you don't even have to attack them. You can let the wildlife kill them, or you can actually bleed them out with the daggers. I would definitely do that if they don't have any wildlife around, because it's going to be really handy, because they drop a really essential important thing that's going to help you get geared up really quick, so you can get out of that coarse clothing. Now if we have a look at her, you can see she's dropped a flawless light wrap. You can see that gives us a bit of armor. You can see that gives us bonus encumbrance. That's going to allow us to carry a lot more than before, and that's also going to allow us to have some better armor on. Now they don't only drop light, they can drop medium armor as well, so if we go and kill another one in a different location, I can show you. So here's another one I found. You can see he has a skull above his bar. You will have to be careful of the ones with the daggers, because they are quite brutal, because they will also apply bleeding effect to you, which is just as brutal. But pretty much, to show you where he is without him going after me for a second there, we look on the map, I'm right on this beach here. Usually you'll get turtles that will try and kill him, and usually that will work out for you. This time he dropped a flawless medium tasset. That's 44 armor, bonus encumbrance, and you have a flawless light turban in him as well. One more spot I also find them in every single time. You see there's an archway over there. Well, if you just go past it and you go up here, there's going to be another person that will spawn there. And you can see it right there, actually. They have spawned. So there's one on this plane. I always find them in these free spots. Always, always, always. So do check them out. I do definitely recommend it. My next tip is getting bark. Now, bark is used to make several crafting stations and fuel several crafting stations, such as the tannery needs bark to function. So what you want to do, usually you can get a stone pick and attack a tree of any kind to get bark. So if we just attack it here, we got one bark already. However, it's a lot more efficient if you're to farm bark off trees like this. You see, this is a dead tree, and if we were to attack this instead, you can see we're going to get a lot more bark, and we'll probably end up with a lot more branches as well. So if you want easy bark, then definitely go for the skinny dead trees. You can find them in several locations. You can find them in this area I'm in now, or if you go over to this area, there is tons of dried trees here too. My next really essential tip is to plunder. This applies for the whole entire game, but especially at the start. Pretty much all around the Exiled River is going to be camps with crates next to them. There are really big camps with loads of crates, such as the Safari one over here, or there are smaller ones such as one on the edge of here, one here. There are several along this area and along this area as well. You can find them easily because they will be guarded by little people that you can kill with the daggers. Be careful of the spear people because they have a lot more range than you, but pretty much you want to kill them and then you want to take their box. So we got rid of them, now we are free to get the box. Often or not as well, you can actually just run past and grab the box and not interrupt them. So you can just see there, we got some handy things to help us out there, some extra resources. Now also in Conan Exiles there's a thing called a sandstorm that can come along. It's usually recognised when you get little bits of dust going past your screen in big lines. That's when you know a sandstorm's coming, and that's when you have to act really quick. In the beginning you have nothing really to protect you from the sandstorm unless you make a shelter, which you can do in your feet. You can make something like a sandstorm box. You can have a sandstone foundation, door, ceiling, just a small little box you can hide out in where the sandstorm passes. Or if you're really that unprepared, which often will happen a lot of the time, sandstorm will actually catch you off guard when you're early on. There's another thing you can do, but you have to kind of find the right kind of place. So you see here, I'm going to go and smooch this rock, and you can see on the left I have a thing called shelter. Now ideally I want to try and get that up as high as possible. That's going to protect me, but it should still be pretty decent if it's not quite there. But that will help you shelter from the sandstorm if you're in a quick rush. You can see right there actually, I had a full shelter buff. There you go. That means I'm fully protected from the sandstorm, and the sandstorm can now not hurt me. Because if a sandstorm comes along, usually what it's going to do is it's going to slowly nip away at your health. And if you don't have anything to protect you, it will definitely kill you at a low level. Now, if you don't have full complete shelter, it will try and still hurt you. Ideally, you want to kind of eat at the same time. So your soothing buff and your food buff can help you heal throughout the Sandstorm and make it more likely that you're going to survive it if you don't quite have, you know, the adequate shelter. My next tip is to learn as much as possible. So when you start out in Conan, you're really going to need some experience to get you off learning some attributes. So what I do every single playthrough is go around and talk to all of the talking stones and all of the books in the local area. So you see here on the map right here, there are a few touchstones. There's 2 on the end of here. There's some books you can pick up for experience as well. There's a lot of these kind of things hidden in Conan Exiles throughout the entire map. There's tons of secrets. Now, I can't show you them all right now because there's just so many, but I can show you a few I will always go to at the start and a few map locations along the way. If you want to see all of them, however, I will leave a couple of videos in the description down below that is going to tell you where to find a lot of secrets, hidden locations, hidden books. They will give you tons of recipes, tons of really good things you need, even special hidden armor. And then there's also one for touchstones that don't give loads of experience anymore, but they still will give you a good amount, and they're really good to click on when you're early level anyway. So we're going to start off on this location, is near the start. If you go over here, there's little imps that will try and eat you, so be careful of those. But we're going to here. There's a book you can click on. That'll give you an emote and some experience for finding that. And then there's also a talkstone. And there's some ghosts. Usually, ghosts will point out secrets in this game. So if you see or hear ghosts, they will usually be pointing out or walking towards a secret or a book you can pick up to learn and give you some experience and some lore and some good points or feats or anything like that. Now, if we're to go to the opposite side of the bridge, there's also a couple more things you can click on. Near here, there's a book that you can click on. And then if we look here, right on my player marker, that will show you where that is. And then also, if you were to head up just from here, there's also another talking stone that you can go and talk to. They'll give you some XP. And then this is kind of like a double, triple kind of whammy kind of thing. If you were to go along here, you can see some Defari banners in the distance right there, some vultures. Go right to the end, you'll be able to talk to something called a religion teacher, which is going to teach you about their religions. Now, religions can be helpful because they can enable you to craft special items in the game that you wouldn't have been able to without. So you want to talk to Nunu the Cannibal and learn his emote and learn Yog if you haven't picked that as a religion. And if we want to look on the map here, you can see Shaman's Rise is another place you can go. So that's already a few points of XP you can get. There's also another thing I wanted to talk about very quickly related to this is journey. You have journey steps when you start out in Conan. Now, you can do this from anything from climbing to kicking to drinking water to simply just building things or crafting or whatever, or just picking up someone's head even. You can get journey steps. Now, journey steps will give you experience for doing each of them, and there are many to do throughout the world. So if you also want some help as well, do the journey steps. They're going to give you some experience as well. Some of them actually tell you how to do it as well, like craft a bedroll. You can see some of them are unknown as well. So once you properly kind of get to the level, usually it will give you like an unhighlighted one that you can have a look at and see how to do. So you can see we haven't done kick on this character yet because it's a pretty new one. We kick, you can see journey step is completed. That'll give us some additional experience to learn and be able to develop our character. Because the more levels we get, the more feats we unlock and the more attributes that we can put in. So you can get something eventually that kind of looks like this, and you can put them in any points you like. And as you can see also with attributes, if you put certain amounts of points into certain ones up to these little buttons here, they can give you different things. So let's say if you got up to Vitality 3, so the third perk on Vitality, you could get Fierce Vitality, which makes you gain really high passive health regeneration, which basically means you're going to heal really, really quickly. But pretty much that's all I'm sharing today. I hope this really helps you start out throughout the Conan Exiles adventure. If you need any helpful tips or anything, make sure to check my playlist down below. It's absolutely full of guides that should really help you out with starting off in the Conan Exiles world. All the way from beginner guides to intermediate, I have it all pretty much covered there. So thank you for watching, I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!